Welcome in to the Skee Sports Card Show. I'm DJ Skee. The Topps 2020 Artist Series continues for Project 2020. I'm joined by a man who I've got a bunch of his cards in front of me. He's made some of the illest ones in this series, and he's actually going to do something very special on this show. For the people joining us on the live stream at cardhouse.net, we are going to actually give you guys the input and the creativity to help him choose which background and which direction to go for one of his final cards in the series. I, of course, am talking about Blake Jamieson, who is an incredible artist that has been doing so much between sports and art. It's, you know, this project is like he created it himself, kind of the whole concept for Project 2020. So coming to you all the way from NYC right now, where you're in the midst of moving your studios, right? It's Blake.
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up, man? It's happy to be here, man. And you couldn't have said it better. Like, I feel like this type of project, I couldn't have pictured something like a better fit for what I was doing within the art world and the sports world, and the crossover is perfect. And
It's really incredible. So let's talk about your background a little bit. And people, we want to make sure you're giving Blake a follow right now on IG, because we have over 20 giveaways tonight, but Blake's going to add to that. He might even do some on his own. I think he said, you know, over the next week, he might do a full set giveaway to a new follower. Mm-hmm. So where can people follow you?
Yeah. So Instagram, athlete.portraits. Athlete portraits. I've been kind of focused on specifically that niche and working with athletes for the last 3-4 years. And so when this Topps project came along, it not only was very within my wheelhouse in terms of like making portraits of athletes, but also I grew up collecting baseball cards. Topps is like the creme de la creme. So yeah, it's amazing, man.
It really is a phenomenal project. We talk about this with everybody. So I'd like to start off by just saying, for all of the artists, we'd like to know, what was your reaction when you first got that call? And also, what did you think that this meant? Did you think it was just like doing slight changes on the project? Did you envision kind of how crazy the designs would get with that, and how much creativity they'd let you blend into that? What was your initial reaction?
Yeah, great question. So it's interesting because when the whole project kind of came to life and really, like, honestly kind of fell into my lap, I was at a space in my art career where I had painted portraits for professional athletes to the tune of like 300 players, mostly in the NFL, and then some in other leagues as well. But like, I was trying to take my business to a different level and was really kind of focused on like the licensing, which is what the Topps deal is, and getting my art into more homes and more exposure, not just to like the professional athlete who can pay, you know, the price for a commissioned painting, but also just the general fan of that athlete. And so just like the timing couldn't have been better. And Topps reached out to me. I knew that it was going to be kind of like very exciting for my career. I had no idea that it was going to be this whole different beast that it has evolved into, that I don't think anybody knew. Nobody at Topps, none of the artists, nobody could have predicted. And it's really like being in the right place at the right time with the shutdown and COVID and like a lack of sports. Topps 2020, Project 2020 has given a lot of people like kind of this release and something that they can rely on, and something that's positive in a year that's been pretty tough on a lot of people.
It's a great way to put it. And for those that may not be familiar or are kind of new to the card space, or watching or listening to this for the first time, how would you describe the kind of the evolution of Topps Project 2020, from the numbers that it was even doing like when it first launched, to the craziness I remember in the summer, and I think it was Memorial Weekend, where it just went crazy. How would you describe, you know, what happened with this project, and what were those memories along kind of that journey for you?
Yeah, man, it has been a roller coaster. I'll tell you that. So for anyone that's not familiar with the project, Topps Project 2020, Topps recruited 20 artists across many different disciplines. And I think that they did such a good job curating such a wide variety of artists, from graphic designers to people that have established themselves in like fashion or the sneakerhead world. And each of us 20 artists are reimagining 20 iconic baseball cards, most of which are iconic rookie cards of Hall of Fame caliber players. mostly Hall of Fame players. And so I think that like Topps just did such a good job because the hobby community is amazing in itself, and I have only been reminded of that through this project of like getting back in through it. But Topps brought in such a diverse group of artists, all of which with our different audiences, and a lot of those people kind of all accumulated in one place, and we realized I think a lot of people like myself, like I grew up collecting baseball cards and then I fell out of the hobby for like decades. And so I probably stopped when I was 15 and now I'm 35. So it's 20 years later and I still have all my old cards in the garage that fortunately my mom never threw away. And so like to go
And that's lucky. I wish I could say the same thing.
Oh man, it's okay. I mean, it was everything from the junk wax era. But my dad and I collected like every single card from 1985 to roughly 1995. We have like every single card printed, but those are also like all of the cards that were very heavily printed. So it wasn't anything like insanely valuable, but it was cool because like a lot of the cards that are being reimagined within Project 2020 fall within that series. And so like I was finding like the Ken Griffey card that I'm now getting to reimagine, the Mark McGwire card, the Frank Thomas card, like all of those cards are literally the cards I grew up collecting. And so being able to reimagine those myself now is like, it's a dream come true, man.
It's crazy. And how big did you think this was going to be when it first came out? Like, you know, I believe you can't imagine, you know, the print runs hit and just kind of the popularity of this project took off.
Sure.
How when it first happened, I know you were excited being a baseball fan and being somebody whose basically life is, you know, creating art of athletes. So it's a perfect thing. But I mean, when you first started, you're like, oh, this is cool. It's great for me.
Sure.
Did you think it would have the impact that it has? Where did you think it would go?
Well, definitely not. So like to put it in perspective, as an artist working with Topps in this project, we had like a minimum guarantee where we know we're going to get a certain amount of money, which is basically like the fee for creating the art. And then we're incentivized. We're like, if the print runs do really well, we're paid a modest royalty. And so we're incentivized for the cards to do well. And so like in my head, I pictured, okay, if a small print run is 200 and a big print run is 2000, and if I can play in that range, you know, I'm not going to get rich off of it, but it is something where like this is a pandemic year and it's really tough for like, you know, self-employed artists to have something to fall back on that's like consistently going to be paying the bills. That was enough for me. And so like that was my expectation going in, 200 to 2000 print runs. And I would be cool there. Obviously that is, we've exceeded that in exponential fashion, which is fantastic. And yeah, I mean, it's been a wild year, man.
It totally
Absolutely
has. What was the turning point for you when you started to realize the legs this project had in terms of momentum from a ground level, right? Like, what were some of those key moments when it just started growing? Because I want to go back to that journey of how it started as this really cool project and people took notice of it. And I remember seeing it right away. And, you know, there's a lot of debate within the hobby whether this was something cool, whether this was, you know, just something that was going to come and go. And I think a lot of people approached it that way too, right? Like they wanted to really see the designs first. It started off with a lot of buzz, but the print runs were obviously the lowest in the beginning. What were some of those turning points being in the middle of it that you remember along this journey that really helped accelerate that path and got it to obviously where it just like became, you know, the center of the sports card universe?
Yeah. So it's crazy. So my first card was Nolan Ryan, and that was card number 18. And so in general, like 1 through 20 is going to be the 20 artists. We each have one card. So I was kind of like, my first card was kind of late in the game. And so I kind of got to see people kind of navigating that space. I think that a turning point for me, there was two in my own head of where turning points were. Number one is when I got that Nolan Ryan card delivered from Topps and I had my first baseball card in my hand that I had created, that was like a feeling unlike anything I've ever experienced. And also like the quality of the cards, the 130 point thickness, which that surprised me. Honestly, when they told me like coming into the project, oh, we're going to print 130 point, I didn't know what that meant. And then I get the card, and it's like, I mean, it's like a little poster board, thickness. Like, it's a quality card, which is good because they cost $20 each. So like that was like getting the first card in the hand. I'm like, oh man, this is amazing. And this is like it like brought back all these childhood memories. And then kind of right at the same time, I launched a limited edition series of those Nolan Ryan cards, which I signed in different colors and numbered them on the back. And at that point, like I don't even think I put them on my website. I think I just like posted it in like a Facebook group and on Twitter. And those cards sold out so fast that like people were paying for my autograph on my own baseball card. And I was like, oh my, this is on a whole different level than I thought it was going to be, because Topps compensates the artist well. Us artists are, like I said, like paid based on the volume, but like getting money on the backside, like I still have to buy cards from Topps like everybody else. I buy my own cards, but putting my own autograph and then flipping that and selling it was definitely a turning point where I realized that this could be a much bigger deal than I first anticipated.
What a great story, and it's turned into one of those things that I think has brought so many new people into the hobby and the card hobby. I want to get into that in a second, but talking about your history a little bit, you mentioned how you had a card collection as a kid and kind of got back into it, and I think it's a similar story for a lot of people. That's definitely mine as well. For you, though, you're pretty deep in the card game. Like when we're speaking, we were speaking off air before this. You really know your stuff. What's your favorite card of non-Project 2020 card of all time?
Oh man, I would say the 1985 Topps Mark McGwire. Some would say his true rookie. Other people would just say not like his 87 was technically his rookie. So he played on Team USA. He was wearing his USA jersey, and growing up in the Bay Area and following Mark McGwire, but like from when he was in the minors all the way up to like when he first got called up and was like a nervous, young, scrawny kid, to see him like totally beast mode out. So I think that card was really important to me and really precious to me as a kid. And so within the Project 2020 of getting to reimagine that card, the 87 Mark McGwire, which is his technical rookie card, I kind of, and let's see, I have it.
Yeah, let's show it. Let's show it off.
So I took like the pose from the 87 card, but put him in the coloring of the USA jersey, put the flag behind him. So I kind of tried to like make a hybrid of like the 85 card that I grew up collecting and the 87 card, which also was still cool, but didn't mean the same to me as a kid as the 85.
So did you have, I have a question. So for the sports card set, there's a couple versions of cards. There's the regular Topps standard issue. And then there was a more premium set called Topps Tiffany. Were you able to get the Tiffany one or just the standard?
So I have one now, but
Okay.
I didn't then. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Nice
Wait,
shot.
what?
Matt brought in
That's amazing.
these two. Is this one Tiffany? No, this one's not.
So these are the base ones. So Tiffany, it looks the same from the outside. It's just a higher quality stock. So in essence, like Project 2020 would be a Tiffany, right? Because they're like high quality stock, higher quality print on that. And that was the difference back in the day. And that was the only real variation. There was no refractors or anything. So.
Right. Yeah. So that kind of like neither of these are Tiffany, but this gives people an idea. So like, this is the card that I grew up idolizing. This is the card that Topps had me reimagine. And so I kind of wanted to mix these together, which is what made that
so
one.
dope. It's such a great concept behind that. It's such a cool mix, and it's so cool to see Big Mac like as a scrawny kid. I mean, that 1985 card is, and that card actually exploded too this year in the summer when the whole card industry did, and when the McGwire Sosa documentary came out. I just remember the explosion of that. It's been wild watching this card hobby just explode. When did you really get back into cards again as an adult? How long ago was it, and what was that moment that really got you into it?
Yeah, great question. Honestly, like I said, like I get the first card from Topps of my own card, and that's the first baseball card that I've owned in probably 2 decades.
Wow.
And I started I saw the potential of this project, and part of what I appreciate about this project and really within like the card collecting community is like they're so generous and like nice and also just like engaging. And so I started doing live streams fairly regularly, and then ultimately was doing like 7 days a week at first. Every single night I would live stream, and oftentimes I'd be here in my studio working on cards, and I would let the fans kind of help pick colors or kind of art direction. And in that like community building, I told people like, hey, I haven't collected cards in 20 years. I love Mark McGwire. I also kind of randomly, I love Buster Posey, because when I started my art career, I left digital marketing at the age of 30. I left like a very stable career to pursue art full time. And at that time, I moved home with my parents. Moving in with your parents at the age of 30 is not usually something that people are like bragging about, but like to me, it was like the best possible scenario. My parents are amazing. And so that was also right when the Giants were on their kind of run. Every other year they were winning the World Series. And so I was going to a lot of Giants games. I really got like, I was just a big Buster Posey fan. And so when I started streaming within the community, I was like, okay, I'm going to be painting this Topps card. And I just kind of be talking about collecting as a kid and players that I liked. People just started sending me cards, and to be like, for example, like both of these were sent from fans, which is amazing because they're like, oh, I know you like Mark McGwire. Here's a Gem Mint 9 of the 85. Here's a 8, or whatever. And so people started just sending me ridiculous racks, random acts of kindness, as people say in the hobby. And that kind of has gotten me back into it. And so like, it's overwhelming now. It's awesome. And it's like very humbling when people are sending very generous gifts like that. But we also, me and my whole team are trying to like always, we get something in, we're sending something else out. It's pretty awesome.
It's good to give back. That's a perfect segue. I think we should do another giveaway. Let's do a random one on Twitch right now. Let's see. We've got some good ones. Shout to ABC Soccer Girl, CWAT 11. Let's see. All right. Let's quiz people and ask them something you just said. What was what is Blake's favorite all-time card? The year and the player. First person to answer live in the Twitch chat is going to get that. Meanwhile, after that, we're going to do another giveaway. If you follow Blake on his Instagram and comment on the last one, it's at athlete.portraits. I'll put it in the chat right now. We'll give you guys a chance to win another one. So let's see if we've got a winner here. So we have a couple. Somebody said 87. We've got Francisco VH22 with the first response. It is that 1985 Topps Mark McGwire. So congratulations, you're going to get one. If you didn't get one now, go comment right now. Go follow and comment Blake. He's going to be choosing a couple throughout the night. So make sure you give him a follow on Instagram right now at Athlete Portraits. Dash Radio just posted it again in our Twitch chat. If you were watching on Twitter or YouTube, just at Athlete Portraits. So, and thank you so much for your generosity, Blake, man. People love these gifts. And I really think the value on these products is going to skyrocket once they're done because of the impact that they're having. Not only because they're such dope designs and they're these iconic rookie cards that are, some of the first variations in essence of these cards ever done, but they also, started something really unique with culture, which takes me back, and I want to talk about your story and how you got started coming up in the Bay Area and what brought you into art and specifically painting athletes and got you to, you're able to make a career of that. What was your start and your foundation?
Yeah. So I grew up in a very creative household. It's crazy that all time growing up, I always loved making art. My parents were always encouraging me making art. But I kind of convinced myself at a young age that it wasn't a viable career path, like I think a lot of people do. So when it was time to go to college, my parents were actually like, you should go to art school. You should study art history. I decided that I thought it'd be more responsible to study economics, which I did at UC Davis. And I thought like going into like a legit career. And so I ended up working in marketing and did well at social media marketing. But at the age of 30, I was like, realized, all right, I'm looking forward to Fridays. I'm dreading Mondays. I need to make a change. And so I quit that job. And it wasn't necessarily that I knew I was going to quit and start painting. It was just that I was going to quit, find something that I would love doing. Long story short, that ended up being painting. And I realized that like, that's something that makes me happy every day. And so I was able to kind of make that transition. And fortunately, because of that background in marketing, I was always able to like promote and market my work, which I think is a rare skill for artists to have. So I didn't have the formal training, but I did have like the marketing training, which I think paid off very well.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Let's actually we're going to take a quick break. We got to check
Yeah.
out your IG. I want you to go on your IG right now and choose somebody that's commented. So make sure if you haven't yet, you
Yes.
still have a couple seconds left.
Yeah, let's do it.
Log on right now. You've got to be a follower at Athletes Portraits on Instagram. A comment is going to be there. I got to go pull a couple cards up. We're going to put the Be Right Back screen up. We'll be right back
Perfect.
momentarily right here on Twitch. Don't go anywhere. Stay streaming with us. We will be right back, but go on IG. We're going to give you guys a second break to win one of these cards.
Perfect.
We are back, and Blake is actually on his IG right now picking a winner. So we'll see who in the comments is lucky enough. If not, don't worry, we have more, and we still have a print. Plus, I think Blake might give away some more cards that he has in his collection as we kind of tease. So Blake, did you find somebody? Did you find somebody yet?
Yes. Let's do W Grove 81.
Shout to W Grove 81. And I don't know if he's in
Will
here in the
Grove.
chat with us, but he's a winner. And don't worry, we still got more to give away. Shout to Boomer Noah in the chat here on Twitch who says Blake is your favorite artist. 33 Zach who says this is cool stuff. Love hearing from Blake. Our homie Aaron at the NBA 2K League show. What up? Flower Gamer 1TAPT. Boomer Noah, CWAD 11, Francisco, who was our last winner, ABC Soccer Girl, who I know won a bunch of stuff. And she actually has a great question. So she wants to know, Blake, what's it like working with your sister now?
It's a great question. Man, I am blessed with the best team. And fortunately, part of that team is my family. So my sister manages all of my inbox communications. She does my email, all of my social media inboxes. And she's really the glue that kind of holds a lot of the operation together. Part of the unexpected growth of Project 2020 and kind of where that's taken me as an artist uh, took me to a place very quickly where I realized that I couldn't handle everything myself. And so I have a handful of employees now, which I'm very excited. Like COVID is a time where a lot of people are getting laid off or underemployed or unemployed, which is tragic. But I've been very fortunate where I've been able to expand my team and employ people, and uh, some of those have been family members. So my sister does my communications. My dad manages my website. It's awesome, man. We're a family, like through blood, but also like even the other employees, like everyone's family. It's awesome. My sister's the
Really great
best.
when you're able to turn a family business, turn your love and your passion into a career, and then to make it like a family business and
Mm-hmm.
experience that with them. I want to
Yep.
pull up a couple cards and talk about a couple that I personally bought from this series over it. I
Yeah.
think my favorite one that you've done is this, and I know it's ironic too because you're both randomly, and I don't know how you pulled this off, an A's and a Giants fan.
Yep.
Talking about Willie Mays.
Yeah, Willie. It's awesome. I love that card. Um, It's funny actually. My first ever MLB portraits that I did was a portrait of Willie Mays and a portrait of Ricky Henderson, and it was for within in the Bay Area. There's the Battle of the Bay, which is the A's versus the Giants every year, and usually it's a split series. Well, they do part of it at the at the A's and part of it at AT&T Park for the Giants. And so like Willie was the first baseball player that I ever painted. It was a different photo than that, but it was a really fun project to work on. And so when I got to like come back a second time now, a few years later, and do another one for Topps, it was so awesome.
Phenomenal, man. It's got to be so cool, like especially you being a baseball fan and collecting cards, being able to interpolate and mess with these players that you grew up loving, or if not, some of these are obviously prior generations to us, but hearing about and being able to do that. Do you feel an added sense of pressure when you're working on these cards? Is there and have you ever gotten like, I won't say writer's block, but I guess artist's block in the creation process? Because especially because you understand how meaningful these cards are for the community, for the hobby, and for you just as a sports artist, you understand the impact and the level of talent that you're drawing, from Bob Gibson to
Right.
Trout, like it's Ted Williams, it's King Griffey Jr.
Yeah. Um, I think there was definitely some of that at the start of the project, and actually something I meant to mention earlier when you talked about kind of when I knew this was going to be so crazy. The very first card I did, Nolan Ryan, at that time, Topps, because they're in New York, they actually came here to the studio and they were filming me make my first card, which was a Nolan Ryan card. And I made a version of it, and it was like halfway through that process that they were filming, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to see some of the other artist cards?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." And so this guy Brandon just like on his phone, just like pulled up some pictures and showed him. And the first card I ever saw was the Ermsey Trout, and that card is just, I mean, it's bananas. Ermsey's work is so cool, and like as soon as I saw that, I'm like, don't publish this video yet because I want to do this Nolan Ryan over. Like literally that card single-handedly was like, I'm going to revisit how I want to approach this set. And so I think like in that sense, like, yeah, I was like, oh man, I really got to come correct because a lot of these artists are doing like some really crazy stuff. I was taking a very like literal approach of just like, I will remake this exact card just in my own style. Um, so in that, like, that's probably the most that I was like, not really second guessing, but just like very conscious of like what I put out there has gotta respect the athlete. It's got to respect the hobby. It's got to respect the original Topps card. But since then, like once I kind of found my rhythm and groove, it's just like, I mean, this is what I do, man. I've been painting athletes for years. I've done hundreds of them, and it's not like I don't usually get to a card and feel like I'm stuck. Um, I just know what I got to do and put in the work.
Biggest difference from you actually painting and your traditional athlete paintings that you were doing before Topps Project 2020 existed versus taking these cards and doing that? Is there a change in the way that you're designing and approaching them versus your traditional art, or is it no, it's the exact same thing you're copying over?
It's a little bit different, just in that like you look at art. I think like photography in itself is a fantastic art form, and sports photography in itself is like a very specialized skill within photography. Photography is really good at capturing one specific moment from one specific perspective, right? And it just captures that. What painting does, I think, is that you can take this same moment, that grand slam swing, whatever it is, and you're capturing it, but you're capturing it from many different perspectives because you can pull in like a lot of stuff that you couldn't see in a photograph just from like right behind home plate or the dugout or whatever. And so I don't know, man. I think that like the only difference with like what I usually do in trying to capture these like epic sports moments of these basically superhuman like
Yeah.
superheroes, right? That
Yeah.
have these just ridiculous abilities that most humans don't, is the only difference is like because it was originally a Topps card and there's kind of all this history behind it. I really have been trying to be very mindful of paying homage to the card itself. And sometimes that's taking elements from the card, whether it's the border or the team logo from that era. and just literally just using those pieces. But yeah, I mean that's the only difference. It's just like it's the moment, and that's always the thing. But now it's like it's the moment plus it's how it was captured in 1972 by Topps or in whatever.
What's and when you do these cards, what's your approach to each one? Because you can see different styles. Like we got kind of the I guess like the baller Mike Trout, right? We've got the very vintage, and I love this Ted Williams. It's similar to like the Willie Mays style, where it's very clean. You have the McGwire, where you interpreted like kind of a couple cards together. How do you approach each card? And I know you've got a couple left, and one that you might actually, I think
Yeah,
you
what
said
we're gonna play
you're
with
gonna
tonight.
work on a little behind us in a second. So I guess we'll get a glimpse into it momentarily.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I mean, like I said, I want to pay homage to the original card, and I want to make sure that like I want people to look at my card and know what I was referencing. Know
Yeah.
that this is supposed to be the 1993 Jeter or the 19, or whichever card it is. And so there's that element. I think that like one of the things that I did at the beginning is with the Don Mattingly card, and it's very common in like the old cards to have kind of a dual portrait. So you have like in that case they had like the big picture of him in the field, and then they had like a small kind of picture in the corner of just like his kind of mugshot almost. And so what I did with that card, which is my second card, is I flipped it, and so I made the portrait big and then the fielding kind of small in the corner. And that's similar actually to the card that I'm working on right now, which is Tony Gwynn, where you have the big picture of him as he's like running. You see him from the back. It's like I don't know if he's stealing a base, and then you have his mugshot kind of down in the corner. I'm flipping it where I'm taking the mugshot and making that kind of the main portrait, and then a very small we'll do like the action shot. I think that like that's a lot of fun to like kind of play with just the perspective there. But I mean, every card is different. They all come from different eras too. You look at like the Jackie Robinson card and the Mike Trout like Topps update card. Those are from very different eras, and so those cards look different to begin with, and so they're going to end up different. So like the Mike Trout that you showed that Ben Baller graciously blinged out the border. That all kind of came together spontaneously and was like part of the magic of this project is not only like meeting the collectors and the hobby, but also the other artists. Like there's amazing
Yeah.
artists that are part of this project, and a lot of them now are friends, which is a very cool spot to be in.
And that's what's so great about people about collecting cards, right? Like it's about the cards, and there's tremendous value if you look at it from like an alternative asset is one thing, but more so than that, it makes watching sports, especially baseball, a lot funner because you're able to root for some of those players that you have. But it's a community. It's a community that's very gracious. That, as you said, will give back, and you've played an incredible role in that, and letting people live in your studio and watching these and streaming live, as well as giving these away and creating these incredible pieces of art. And yeah, for all of us too, like really connecting on this series, it's incredible. And for me, I'm just so honored to speak with people like you and get those stories and hear the behind the scenes. And that's what's so fun about it. And I get the core. It's really the people and the community, which makes it so much more special
Mm-hmm.
than anything else. And that's one thing that I think this project has really done a good job. And that's where you see it, like with the collaborations, with the artists collaborating amongst each other on a project that's a collaboration. It's like the
Yep.
ultimate, all these worlds coming together. Speaking of other artists, what card to you that's not yours has really stood out in Project 2020 or like series? It can be a couple. You don't have to just think of one necessarily, but what
Yeah.
has really stood out in your head as part of this series?
Oh man, there's so many. So like I said, that Ermsey Trout, because that shaped my approach to the project, that will always hold a special place in my heart. I think that it's so hard to pick favorite artists, but Ermsey is
Right.
one of my favorite artists of the project. His work is just amazing. I also love the Gregory Siff, the Big Mac, where he did it in the
So
in the
cool.
burger. I mean, that was like it's one of those things in the art world, and that's like the best thing is like when you make something that everyone else is like, yeah, I should have thought of that, like, or it was like so obvious, and then like, but he just did it. Like that was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot like the F. Doc Gooden. He put the mask. I thought that was a very good like sign of the times. Um, yeah, I mean there's so many. It's too many. It's too many to count. Like I'm such a big fan. I am also because like I'm a collector. I'm collecting two complete sets, one for myself, one for my dad, and yeah, I mean it's just like I have every card. They're all amazing, and
It's
I
amazing. That's the
also like
toughest thing I would
because
say.
I
It's
told
just
you like
tough to
we're
keep up with them. Like I'd buy all of them, but it's,
yeah.
you have to, I'm like Tops. I keep telling them you got to do like a subscribe button, right? Or
Mhm,
complete the set. I wish I could have just
mhm,
done that day one, but
mhm.
it's still so fun. And I guess that's what kind of makes it fun, right? Shout out to everybody that is rocking with us in the chat right now. We have actually a couple people saying, I think there was somebody in here that I saw that said he has all of your cards except a Griffey.
Mm.
So shout out to him. Hit me up if that's the case. We might be able to find a way to make that work if you've been supporting that long. People are
Totally.
talking about everything else. All the other artists in here, Carter 311 shouting out Gregory, Boomer shouting out F. Dot, W Grove shouting out all of them. Actually, W Grove said something really cool. He said he traded a Ricky Henderson and Tony Gwynn rookie back in '92 for a Will Clark rookie with a palm face. Do you remember any great card trades that you ever had in your childhood or even recently, Blake?
Man, that's a great question.
Right?
It's so like when I was collecting baseball cards, it would I honestly like. I mean, my parents. Shout out to my parents. My parents are awesome. I feel like I wanted for nothing, and my dad and I just had all the cards. It's also interesting now, like it used to be collecting cards is like all of the cards that I knew were in existence were basically like whatever was in the glass shelf at the local card shop. And it's still really cool to go to card shops and see stuff in person, but now like with the internet, like you see these cards that you wouldn't ever see normally in like the glass case at your local card shop. And so I think that like there wasn't any like crazy trades as a kid because I just feel like my dad like just always kept us plugged. And also it was like, I mean, it was the junk wax era and it was cards were heavily printed, but like we had everything. Um, I do remember like, and I'm like a collector at heart. Like this has transpired over when, even though I stopped collecting cards for 20 years, I didn't stop collecting something. So it was like, I was collecting, I did Pogs, I did Magic cards, I did Beanie Babies with my sister. And like,
Yeah.
honestly, like I remember me and Tess, my sister, like hustling with Beanie Babies, and we would go to like trade shows and stuff, and just have ridiculous trades, and we'd come home with just all this loot. Yeah, so I think it's like just like that mentality and that like mindset of like a collector is not like it's not a specific baseball card. It's just like those weekends that we would like bike down to Diamond Sports Cards. Yeah, it's the best, man.
It's amazing, man. It's really dope. And I know you want to give away a bunch of other cards. So again, follow Blake on Instagram.
Yeah,
It's
I'm down
hold
to
on,
give
which
out a
what's
Griffey right now
you
since
got a
someone
Griffey?
needs it.
You got a
Some
Griffey?
Yeah, I mean, somebody said they needed a Griffey, so I think we could I could do a Griffey.
All right, we're gonna give it to Edwin Monte 84, who said he's got all of Blake's, but he
Great,
missed the Griffey.
love it.
So Edwin, follow Blake on IG right now. What's the IG, Blake?
Athlete.portraits. And Edwin, if you just
Athlete.portraits.
send me a DM, Tess will help me. We'll just send me your mailing address. We'll get you a Griffey.
You're the man, Edwin. Edwin, we got you hooked up. See, that's another great thing. And that's this community giving back, right? Like
Mhm.
he missed a day on the purchases, has all your other ones and has collected it. And now you're getting rewarded just out of the nice. This wasn't planned or anything else. So thank you, Blake. You're taking this out of your personal collection and one that you've actually bought. So
All good.
such a
Happy to be
phenomenal
here.
project. For such a
Yeah.
phenomenal project. All right. Is there a card besides the 1985 Mark McGwire or a player that is not included in Project 2020 that you wish you could have done, or another favorite player of yours growing up, or a card that was really
Yeah.
memorable for you?
So I think Bo Jackson would have been really good for this
Ooh,
set. And the Future Stars 87 would be a really nice card for it. I mean, I'm a Buster Posey fan, so I would love to
yeah.
see Buster in some like something that I could paint. Um, there's not really a specific Buster Posey card that like jumps out to me as like the
Yeah.
iconic one.
Yeah. All right.
I also
Question for
think
you too
like,
on the baseball
the
side.
Mickey Mantle,
Yeah,
like,
Mickey Mantle, right? Like
like
52.
that would have been that would have been a fun card. The Honus
Iconic.
Wagner, which actually there's like that. It's kind of behind a light, but it's the
Yeah.
T206.
T206.
And I got kind of like a whole series here of like I've been playing with some of the old T206 subjects, so that would be fun.
People love those. People were commenting they were noticing that in the background of your chat. The most expensive baseball card I think ever sold is that Honus Wagner T206. Yeah. It's just phenomenal. You know what I really liked this year too was one of my favorite series was the Topps Finest Flashbacks. Did you see the current ones where they took, I think it was the 93 or the 94 Topps Finest series and put them in with modern players? It's so dope to see kind of some of those retro projects and those things coming out. Mm-hmm. If you had a more favorite recent card or anything, like if you were to pick an actual 2020 card, what's your favorite baseball card that's released? Let's say this year. We can take it back. The last couple years.
Have like a bunch of stuff at hand. I think like Gypsy Queen.
Ooh.
The Gypsy Queen cards are just so gorgeous. And
what's the backstory on Gypsy Queen? Do you know much of the backstory there?
I don't, to be honest. I have no idea. I just think that they look awesome. And somebody recently gifted me this McGwire 2020 Gypsy Queen parallel with like a black back, and it's a super tight card. And because we're mid-move, it like just got taken off my desk towards the new studio. But it's cool. Also, you know what else I really liked is the Ben Baller Topps Chrome.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
That was an ill collab. The thing with Ben is like he took his theme and rode that out, and it's just crushed it. It's awesome. It's those awesome to see. And that's
gorgeous.
Yeah.
I've got 4 boxes of Steve Aoki Wave 1, which I'm very excited.
Me too. I'm waiting for him to come. Shout out to the homie Steve. You know, shout to Cards and Coffee, our shop that we have together in Hollywood that we got to get you out to, Blake.
I can't wait.
And that's what's set up. There's so many variations now too. So like, and Gypsy Queen was actually an old tobacco cigarette card that they reimagined and that brought that whole retro style, which is again so cool to see kind of what's happening in the card industry right now with bringing things back versus like, 1985, 1987, there was one card and they produced a lot of them. Now you're getting a lot of different variations. So everybody's able to get in and have like a different angle to the hobby. Some people will only collect. So a lot of people came in because of Project 2020 and will expand from there and focus on that. Others focus strictly on base and chrome on update. There's so many different ways you can get in, which is what I think makes card collecting so fun. What's been the funnest moment that's happened for you during this project, or funnest message that you've gotten around this? It could have been somebody sending you something. It could have been, I think I know it's probably for you when somebody called you, but what's been the coolest moment of this series so far?
Yeah, so definitely. Okay, so I grew up idolizing Mark McGwire. Had kind of this like fun story as a kid where like we were following him from day one, and he knew who me and my parents, my dad was. And so when the Mark McGwire card came out, which meant so much to me, I had a whole YouTube video explaining like the whole backstory and why it meant a lot. That got picked up by MLB.com. Mark happened to be like reading it, read the article, followed the link back, watched the video, and then I got an email and it was like, M. McGwire. And it was like, hey, saw this article, thought it was awesome. Like, great job, Mark. And I like didn't really know for sure if it was him or not, but I like responded being like, so glad, obviously assuming it was. I was like, okay, cool. Like, and he also mentioned, he's like, yeah, I'm looking for maybe some new art for my San Diego home. Like, okay, well, whatever you got or whatever you want, I will keep you plugged. Here's my email, phone, blah, 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 blah. And like, he just called, and then he like called me. It was an unidentified San Diego number, and I picked up, and it was literally Mark McGwire. And it was like the night that my Mark McGwire card dropped. And it's like your child, like it was for me, it's like my childhood idol.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing better than that. And so like to talk to him, and he was so kind that we spent like 20, 30 minutes on the phone.
Did he tell you any stories about that card, about either one? Because you talked about the 85 and the 87. Did he give you any history of like when that picture was taken or his memories of that at all?
He didn't, honestly. So what we talked about is like, what happened, the story that like ties us together is he was in the minor leagues, and he was in the minors while he was playing on Team USA. And during that time, he was in the minor league program with the Oakland A's. We were actually down in San Diego, and randomly like on a family trip, and like driving down the freeway, we're car like side by side in the cars, and there's Mark McGwire driving. He's at this point he's got to be like he's like a 20-year-old kid or something. And my parents are like beeping the horn, and they're like waving at him, and he like thinks like, oh, maybe I have a flat tire or something. And my dad like grabs the A's cap off like the seat, and he's like holding up the Oakland A's like hat, and he's like, oh yeah, cool, cool. And then we see him at spring training in Phoenix, the following spring training, and my dad's like, yeah, we were the ones that saw you on the freeway down in San Diego. And he's like, oh, like I didn't know that anyone would recognize me. I was still in the minors. I didn't even know if I'd make it, like get called up. Like I was super nervous. So like to see someone down in San Diego that knows who I am was like a really big deal to me. And so he's like, I'm going to call you guys the Freeway Fans. And so then like every time we saw him, whether it's at spring training or at games or whatever, my dad would always say, hey, we're the Freeway Fans. He'd be like, oh yeah, how's it going? And so like, honestly, like when we talked, we weren't talking about like, oh, what was that picture like being taken in '85? We were just like kind of recounting our own perception, you know, our own viewpoints of like that whole experience, and like me being like 2 years old at the time, and then like hearing the legend of the Freeway Fans, right, growing up, hearing it from his perspective, it was wild.
That's phenomenal. What a story. And that's what's so cool. And the great thing is, and this is what's so great about life, no matter what industry you're in and what you do, once you find your passion and your calling and you go for it, it generally works out, and everything in the universe kind of comes back full circle. And that's kind of what seems to be happening with your story, right? Like you got into this and look at what's happening. I feel the same way when I'm like DJing at, you know, for the Twins or Vikings or doing things like that, like things that I used to think I'd make it to the major leagues as a player, but I was able to sneak it another way and have more fun with it, bringing another passion of mine, which is music. So it's awesome. I want to talk about a little of your art too. You have a lot of clients across pro sports. What's when you're commissioning, doing commissioned work, are people oftentimes generally looking for pictures of themselves to hang, or for you to do reinterpretations of that, or is it for other players or legends that they looked up to, or a mix of both? What is your clientele prefer generally?
So it's definitely both, but I would say the most popular thing is people want to picture themselves. The second most popular thing is people want to picture their dog, and the third most popular thing is they want a picture of their kid. And it's literally like I do more dogs than kids.
Wow.
But sometimes, like athletes will want pictures of other athletes. So, for example, Josh Jacobs plays for the Raiders. Super nice dude. He's got a handful of paintings. The first paintings that he got from me was one picture of himself, one picture of Russell Westbrook, and one picture of Michael Jordan. And it was kind of this triptych, which I love. That like, you know, you want to like, this was last year, so he was a rookie, first year in the league, and he's been balling out. But I love like that athlete mindset of like, okay, I'm gonna put myself right next to the idols. That like I want to be the next MJ. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's very true. And yeah, it's an interesting realm when people do that. Somebody's asking in the chat, Miss Ninja saying no cats, mostly dogs, no cat pictures.
I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever even painted a cat.
People just want their
I don't know.
dogs.
I think I've done a lot of dogs.
What's been the weirdest thing, or like the most obscure thing that somebody's asked you to paint that you can talk about without like?
Okay. All right.
So, or maybe we don't want to know.
No. This is totally fine. It's funny because it's this guy who's actually like very heavy in the card community. He does a lot of soccer cards. This guy Damien. So his wife is a huge Michael Jordan fan, and so he had like a few pictures of Michael Jordan, and then he sent me a few pictures of his wife, and he's like, I want you to like Photoshop it so it looks like they're together in like one photo. So like I ended up taking like, it was like a Michael Jordan picture where he had his arm like around Scottie Pippen or something.
Yeah.
But then I like superimposed his wife like instead of Scottie. So it was like, it's literally like a painting of like Michael Jordan as if he's like hanging out with this dude's wife. and she loved it. I mean, they were
That's
super stoked about it,
amazing.
but it was definitely like the thing that I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
One of my guys, Jason, did a painting of himself in his gym of him playing Michael Jordan. Shout out to Jason. He's a big card collector, OTIA Sports. Him in a Pistons jersey playing Jordan one-on-one.
That's
Big
awesome.
mural. So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's not obscure things. The craziest one I've heard, what's been the craziest thing that you've heard about somebody wanting a painting of? I remember reading not one that you've done. I remember reading an article once about A-Rod having the statue of him as a half horse, half A-Rod hanging up in his
That's
New York.
amazing. That's
It's
like
amazing, right?
it
That's
reminds
actually a
me of like
card. You should do that as a card. But is there any? What's been like the craziest one that you've read about just in anything? It doesn't have to do with sports. Now we're a
dude,
little off
I mean,
topic, but
I
it's a
would
little
put
fun.
that right at the top of the list. I mean, that reminds me of like in dodgeball when Ben Stiller has like him grabbing the bull by the horns. Um,
That's a great
yeah,
one,
I don't know.
right?
I mean, honestly, like I've been wanting. I would actually love to do kind of like just like a, I don't know what the right word is, like a Renaissance style painting, but like myself, like on like an old Renaissance style
Yeah.
throne, maybe like tiger in front.
A
Like I
lot of
think
people
that
are
would be
doing those now. I've seen them where they have them like
yeah.
in a different era, like it's with the big
Like the
capes
big,
and
like the Schitt's Creek family photo kind of
yeah.
huge, regal. I think that would be fun.
It's crazy, man. It's yeah, the requests and some of the things, especially it's great for all for fun. I love the ridiculous stuff. That's what gets off. We got another great question in. This one comes from Jose in our YouTube chat. Was there an artist who specialized in sports art that inspired you before this became your career and profession? Great question, Zeke.
Um, yeah. So, man, that's a great question. I'd say like Leroy Neiman is the OG, in my opinion, of sports art that like made that category. So he's a huge inspiration for me, and also like even stylistically in my art, I can see inspiration coming there. I think in a more modern sense of like I mentioned that when this whole Tops project kicked off, I was kind of looking to expand my business in a new direction and look at a licensing angle. There's a artist Greg Kreindler who's phenomenal, does these very like hyper photorealistic oil paintings, does a lot of work with the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. His work is prolific, and so I think that he's inspiring from, I think more from like a brand building standpoint than a stylistically. Leroy Neiman more like style. I think that I love kind of the chaos and the colors that he uses. So those are I'd say those are the two.
It's amazing. It's a good one, right? Like, uh, really inspirational story, and it's great to hear your story. All right, favorite baseball player today in the modern era besides Buster Posey? Any new
Yeah, I was about
guys?
to say Buster.
Any new young? Let's look at like young rookies or anybody. You know what? Actually, who are you collecting right now? Who's in your
Sure.
PC? Let's talk about your personal
So,
collection.
I mean, my PC is Buster and Mark
Okay.
within baseball. Within basketball, I collect John Morant. I think he's awesome. Um, I'm into Glaber Torres. I think
Oh,
like also like being here in New York, like it's fun
underrated.
to like some have some New York talent. But Glaber is also like the favorite player NPC of one of my employees, Matt, who I don't know if he's in a different
He hung
room or
out.
if he left, but so like I don't actually have any Glaber cards because anytime we like get some, those are always like those are going to Matt.
They go to him.
And people like fans send it in. Like I do mail Monday. Every Monday I open just mail from fans. If there's any Glaber cards in there, those are obviously going to Matt. So I don't PC him per se, but in terms of talent, I think modern talent, I like him.
All right. Speaking of Yankees too, this is one of the most interesting cards in the set.
Yes.
Mariano. So let's talk about what's your reaction when you first see the Bauman, the young, and Bauman is of course the rookie cards before the Major League Topps cards come out. It's a company that's owned by Topps, which is a dope card to see flip for Mariano because it's so ridiculous when you look at his like kind of look and outfit. And you flipped it obviously a little bit. What was your approach to the Mariano? I got to know.
Yeah, man. So that card honestly was the card that scared me the most out of all of them. And I think a lot of it is like it was like I mentioned, like I kind of just it's not tough. I show up, this is what I do. I paint athletes and they're doing amazing things. I'm used to that. And all of the other 19 cards are like the players doing their amazing athletic feats. This Mo card, this dude's just leaning up against a wall in a you know
with the fanny
hallway.
pack.
Yeah, well, I added the fanny pack, but yes,
Might as well
that's
have been,
also
right? It's hilarious.
yeah. Well, that's a whole funny different situation. But yeah, I mean, I just think like I was just trying to think of ways to make the card fun and interesting. But like I mentioned earlier, is like always trying to keep it true to the original card. Um, all the different artists, which is super inspiring, seeing them all take things in different directions. Some artists are straying far from the original card. Some are keeping true, very true to the original. I've decided pretty early on that like, even though I knew that Topps would let me veer off, I still wanted to like stick with like the original card pose, that whole
Yeah.
image. And so trying to make that like him just kind of leaning against the wall fun. Um, he had his nickname Sandman, so we decided to put a Metallica T-shirt on him, but make it say New York instead of Metallica. The fanny pack is like it's kind of that era, right? It's the fanny pack
Yeah.
era. I'm all for a fanny pack comeback. In
Yeah.
fact, I
It's
have
coming. It's
one.
starting to come back.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always rocking one. I got mine right here.
I love it.
At that time, I had just I actually released. I like did a custom fanny pack that I released on my live stream. Sold it just for the live stream for like 2 hours, and just made it like a grab bag. Like I used to
Yeah.
go to card stores, and I'd be most excited about buying the grab bags because you just never knew what you
Yeah.
were going to get. And so we kind of did this grab bag custom fanny pack. They sold very well. It was also like pre-Memorial Day, like super super hype of the project, which was it was just a wild time. And so I just thought it would be fun to like put the fanny pack on the card, um, tie it all back in together.
You definitely did that.
Thanks,
Now,
man.
for your own personal collection, the card game is crazy. What are your thoughts just on the status and where we are in the card industry? Because I still feel like this is still very early on in the game, and there's going to be a whole new group of consumers getting into the space in very short order. And you've kind of been in the beginning, like where the pandemic is really going to be looked at as one of the biggest, I think, things to accelerate and help this trend that was already kind of gumming back this whole direction. What's your thoughts on the status of where the card game goes from here?
Well, I think that I mean, art and baseball cards have been intermixed since the beginning of baseball cards because the
Yeah,
very first baseball cards weren't photographs; they were paintings.
it's
But
true. Yeah,
it was always hyper realistic. Let's try and paint a picture of that looks exactly like this guy on the pitcher's mound or whatever. Tops is the first that really took the art crossover and pulled in, I think, a little bit more from the art side to say, you guys put your own spin on this and let's see how this works. Obviously, this project was massively successful for a handful of reasons. Part of it being good timing and the COVID and the situation with the world and sports not happening actually ended up making more people interested in the project, I think, than would have if it had just been a regular year. I think that is the blueprint that like showed both the hobby industry and like card companies what's possible. I don't think that anyone is going to be able to replicate this lightning in a bottle that we got this year with Project 2020. I wish that I could just say, hey, we're just going to do this again, and it's going to be we're just rinse and repeat printing money.
yeah,
I don't think it's going to be like that, but I do think that there are going to be a lot of kind of similar products where whether it's Topps or other companies trying to kind of capture that energy and that excitement. So it might be Panini. I would love to see like Panini do some basketball cards and work with artists. Whether I'm included or not, it doesn't matter. Like I just think
yeah,
it would be good for the hobby as well as like the art community because finally now like us artists, especially like me, like that focus on sports art, now being accepted into this like bigger group of people. If I can get in front of these hobby, card collectors, that's a just as big an important audience as like fine art collectors. And so like it's expanding my horizons. I think it's going to do the same for a lot of different artists. I think that some companies are going to be able to capitalize on that. It's going to be exciting. I mean, I'm definitely planning and hoping to continue working with Topps for a long time. And as long as I can continue to do that, I don't really feel the need to go outside of Topps and do other companies, but I do think there are opportunities for other companies as well to capitalize on art.
Love it, love it. We are almost officially out of time. Great breakdown, Blake. It's been such an honor talking to you and hearing your story, hearing your history, hearing the great stories behind these cards, and especially McGwire.
Yeah.
I know you've got something special planned for us.
Yeah.
You've been doing
Yeah.
this
I
dope
mean, I can do
series.
it in like 5-10 minutes tops
Let's do it,
if we
bro.
got time for it.
So let's do it. I mean, we're here. We're not going
Okay.
anywhere, and especially for this. So, and people can follow your YouTube and subscribe to your YouTube because you've actually been doing things like this throughout this whole series. In fan interaction, you've been so vocal with your fans, which is so dope to see. So make sure people follow Blake. What's the YouTube they can get you? They should
Yeah, it's
subscribe
just
to.
Blake Jamieson, Jamieson on
And
YouTube.
of course, on Instagram, we're going to do a couple more giveaways. How do they follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is athlete.portraits.
Love it. And we've still got some more giveaways to do that. And we have the big prize, grand prize giveaway we're going to give away in a second with the trivia question. I want to try to see if we can stump you guys. And the first person, the way that this will work, the first person to get the correct answer will win the print from Blake. And we're giving away these prints that are available now, Topps.com. Go to the Project 2020 section, and it's got to be so dope for you to see these prints now blown up. And as I've always said, like, they're always pieces of art like this, right? But when you see them on the wall, it's something special, and it fits this card better than anything else. So make sure you go grab them. There's still a few left that you can go in there, and there's more releasing. Blake's gonna pull it out and show you guys.
I just got this one from Topps. So this will be I think this is the next one, but
I'm
this
gonna
is
get
my
that.
favorite card, so I'm most excited about this.
I'm getting that one. I'm ordering that the moment it comes out, especially knowing the story behind it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they did such a good job. I think that, like, I don't know. I'm so excited to, like, just the presentation, the quality. This is like literally just like ready to hang on the wall.
So sick.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm ordering the McGwire print for sure. Do you know when that one drops?
That one. What day is today? Is today Tuesday? It might be today.
Oh, did I miss out? I didn't even see the challenges.
I don't know if they sent me Actually, I don't remember them sending me assets, but usually they like ship me the print as soon as
hold on. I'm logging into Topps.com right now. I'm gonna order it before all these other guys do. It's up
Yeah.
there. Hold on.
I
There's
don't know.
so many. You gotta.
That'll be my next one. So, like, my Trout's out, Donnie Baseball's out, and that one is my third. And I think they just dropped a new batch today. But
Yeah, you're right. It's out. Oh, I'm in. All right.
amazing.
Ordered it. I didn't even realize. I didn't even see it on the site. You might have to search a little. That's the thing. So do a search sometimes for the artist, because now there's a bunch of prints up. And there's been so many in these series that we're getting towards the end of it. You can do it. So I just ordered mine right there. But how many cards do you have left to finish in the series?
I have 3 left. So I have Tony Gwynn, which I'm going to paint in just a second. Frank Thomas, which is actually, that card is mostly done. It's not submitted to Topps yet. And then my last card is going to be Roberto Clemente, which I'm very excited about. And Topps is letting a lot of the not a lot. Topps is letting all of the artists have kind of a foil refractor, basically inserts for one of their last 5 cards. And so I'm actually using that for my very last card. So my Roberto Clemente, you have like a 1 in 20 chance to get this foil board refractor card. That one's going to be a lot of fun. They're all fun.
That's phenomenal. See, this project keeps getting better and better, and that's what's so cool is that we've seen the evolution of this, right? And as it's blown up, we've seen the prints, we're seeing the foil cards, we've even seen the Topps now and the short-term runs that have been in more modern cards. Big ups to Topps for actually putting us on and not just doing this. And I'm not just saying this because they're the ones helping us put this whole stream together, but it's really been such a fun project, especially for people at the intersection of multiple cultures, right? Like, none of us are just athletes or just artists. It's like we love all and live and breathe all these things. So to be able to do this is a dream. I'm going to go ahead and, why don't you go ahead and get set up if you want to show us what you're going to work on.
Like I said, it'll be fast. So
let's do it.
For those of you watching, I'm doing the finishing kind of touches on my Tony Gwynn card. I'm going to do 2 stencil layers, a white layer of the highlights, then a black layer that's going to bring it all together. And then I have 2 different backgrounds, and I'm going to let the fans basically choose live. They're both similar color, but they're different because they're abstract, and people can pick which card actually gets printed at Topps. So I'm going to do that. You want to do some giveaways? I will be pretty fast.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll knock it out.
I love it. So you guys, this is an incredible experience. You guys get to actually control the destiny of one of the Topps Project 2020 cards and determining what the backdrop looks like. There it is. We see Tony Gwynn, the San Diego legend. We see the white backdrop.
Mid-tones so far. Yeah, we have a few backgrounds to go, but I'll show you guys that in a second.
It's phenomenal. So we have that white area. So let's see what we have to work with. And this is an artist's work in progress. You can already see by his clothes, by his nails, by his hands. Blake is a true artist that is painting nonstop as it's there. We need you guys in the chat to participate. We need your guys' help. You guys control the project. You have to make it something good. We're about to also give away one of Blake's prints. So stay tuned for that. I'm really intrigued to see how this process works because it's so cool seeing the final process of a lot of these cards, but being able to actually watch and do this. And this is why if you're listening to the radio show or the podcast, stream in with us Tuesdays and Thursdays on cardhouse.net for Topps Project 2020. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday, 8 on the East, 5 on the West. Of course, we will be off this Thursday for Thanksgiving, but back again next week. We can see Mr. Tony Gwynn in action, which is so awesome. All right, while Blake is doing this, let's go ahead and do this first layer of the giveaway. Or you know what? Hold on, I want to see what he does first. This is too good. Artist in action. Somebody said a sunset type background. Shout out to everybody in here too. DJ Miss Ninja, Boomer, Low Key Drums with the LA shout outs to NBA 2K League saying the sunset background. W Grove, OMRS 2491, ABC Soccer Girl, Francisco, Carter, Edwin, Percy, Trapanese Beats, Sproul, 33 Zach, what up? Desert Dog 9. Alejandro Boyce, what up? So much. And again, follow Blake Jamieson on YouTube, Blake Jamieson on Instagram. It's a little bit different. You can check him out. It's Sports Art Designs on IG. And give him a follow. He's going to give us some stuff.
Portraits.
Or sorry, my bad. Athlete Portraits. I was looking at that. I just looked at my history. Athlete dot portraits. And you can get those things there. He's going to, again, give him a follow and comment on that and you can win. See, my chat's pausing. There's too many things. Shout out to everybody following him. Athlete.portraits. We put it right there on the Twitch. So here we go. Low-key shout out to you. All right, so what do we got, Blake? What are you doing right now? What is this process?
What?
What is this process right now?
So we have stencils. I'll show you one of them. So these are hand cut stencils. This was the white layer that I just did, which doesn't look like a bunch, but the black really ties it all together, which is what we're about to do right now.
Amazing. Here we are at Blake Jamieson live, actually creating his next card for Topps Project 2020. Live on the stream, cardhouse.net. Shout out to everybody rocking with us. Tons of giveaways. We are giving away this major print next. So stay tuned. Trivia question next. Shout out to everybody rocking with us on Twitch, on Dash Radio, on YouTube, on Twitter. And shout out to Blake for doing this. History in the making.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, that's sick.
All right. So we have Tony, which so far, so this is on poster board. I'm gonna cut out now. I'm gonna cut this out, and then we're gonna put it on one of two backgrounds that you guys can basically choose.
It's so cool to see this in process. And so right now, while we're waiting, we're going to do this giveaway for the print right now. So are you guys ready for the trivia question? I've got a question ready related around something for this show. The way that it works, the first person in the chat to get the answer correct will win. So are you guys ready? Queue up. What I would suggest doing is refreshing the window, because sometimes the chat can lag if you've been watching us for a second. So I want to give you guys an equal opportunity. Refresh the video in the chat if you are live with us on Twitch right now. It might help you win. So we'll give you guys a second to get caught up. Don't worry. Blake is putting some of the touches on this. And we will get to that trivia question momentarily once we get everybody back in this, because we want to give because sometimes it's not fair for people just to have faster internet. Everybody can kind of get synced up with us. Again, hit refresh. We'll give it a second. Big ups to everybody in here. We've had a couple other winners in that. All right. Are you guys ready for the question? Let me know. I want to see a couple of you guys respond. Say yes, you're ready in the chat, just so I can make sure everybody's synchronized. It is really dope to see the process, right, Francisco? I love it. All right, here we go. So we all know by now that Blake's favorite card is the 1985 McGwire USA baseball card. We all know what Mark McGwire is there. You see it right there. He's holding it up. Our trivia question centers around: how many home runs did McGwire hit in the Olympics 1984 baseball? First answer gets the print. Just guess. You might as well guess. I tried to find something that's a little tougher to Google. I didn't even know the answer to this until we looked at it. 673. Blake, do you got a guess? How many you might not, you might actually know this.
Man,
how many home runs in the Olympics did McGwire?
I don't know how many he hit in the Olympics. I know how many he hit his rookie season.
So say the rookie season. That might give a hint to some people.
That was 49.
That's
I believe. God, now you got me second guessing.
It's something like that. Well, you won't believe this answer. Somebody just got it. W Grove 81 just got it. He hit 0 in the Olympics.
Yeah, 49. Okay, good.
Yep.
I was just making sure. I was like, as soon as you're like, what is it? I'm like, oh crap.
No, you're good. That's how it always is. But in the Olympics, he hit 0.
Dang.
Which is what nobody would think of. Somebody got that. Everybody knows what he hit in 98, so we had to keep it a little there. So big ups and congratulations to W Grove 81. There you go. He guessed 0 and got it. DRB 4130 guessed it, but not publicly. Unfortunately, that doesn't count. All right, let's get back to Blake. This is looking really cool right now. Ooh.
All right. So these are very similar, but I still want to let people choose. So we're going to say this one is number 1.
Yep.
This one's number 2. Now the difference so number 2 would end up with some white border. People like borders on baseball cards sometimes. Some people like borderless baseball cards because for grading purposes, centering is a big issue. So sometimes borderless is better.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we have this Tony Gwynn. We're going to put this on one of them. Do we want to go borderless on number 1 or border on number 2? Now, I am kind of like the Don Mattingly card. I'm actually, this realistically is going to sit a little bit higher. There's going to be another picture of him in the field here. We're going to put Tony Gwynn information down there, but I will let people literally decide.
Let's do a poll in the chat right now. Let's see what you guys think. Everybody type in 1 or 2. 1 for the full border, 2 for no border, or the 1 for the all blue, 2 for the little edgy style border. All right, let's compile. We're getting 1 1 2 2 2 1. Damn, there's too many coming in. Let's see. I'm gonna try to do a rough count of this. 3 4 3 4. It's pretty close. I think we have a slight lean on number 2.
Okay.
And if I had to guess, it's tough when you see it. It looks clean. I was going to say number 2, but looking at it again, it looks so clean number 1. Man, I was going to put in a vote and try to edge it one way, especially because my vote is probably the tying vote, but I can't do it. They're both really, really clean. Which one are you leaning towards, Blake?
Oh man, let's see.
All right, we might have a deciding tiebreaker, but go ahead. I'd love to hear your thing. I think we might from another platform. We're compiling the votes on YouTube, on Twitter, and through Dash.
I want whatever the people want, to be honest.
So
I'm down for either. I made them both, so I don't care.
This is a card I have to have. San Diego, born and raised. I hella go with 2, says Francisco. 2, same person typing.
I do think, like, if I was going to choose, I like kind of breaking it up with a little bit of a border, especially because that original Tony Gwynn card had actually like a pretty big white border, especially at the bottom. It had this big kind of chunk.
We are tied on Twitch. We're going to take it to another one. And the winner, courtesy of our friends at YouTube watching, is number 2.
Number 2.
So number 2 ended up edging out. That was my initial one, but looking at it, it looks great on one. I don't think you can go wrong either way. That's the good problem, but number 2 is sick, and you guys got to see the creation of that. Congratulations to all of our winners tonight. We're going to do a couple more giveaways, too, throughout the course of this. Of course, we're going to have the podcast up on cardhouse.net and for the Skee Sports Card Show. So if you're on Spotify and want to listen to more about the sports card world, just search Skee Sports Cards. Of course, if you want to win more, and Blake he always does a lot of giveaways, follow him on IG at athlete.portraits. And of course, just follow him on YouTube if you want to see him creating more art like this and a couple cards that are left. Blake, man, it's been such a pleasure. I know we went over on time, but it's been awesome to see this. We appreciate you spending your time, and for all the incredible cards that I've, like, not just because I'm here, but these are ones that I bought. Like, I'll give you my credit card statements for this. So
I appreciate that. I need your address. I want to send you I'm going to help you fill in the gaps.
I have no problem now for that. We do. And we got to get you out to Cards and Coffee in LA soon and do something big.
And whenever you're at Bleecker Street next too.
Done. Shout out to the whole Bleecker Street fam, man. Blake, you are the man. We really appreciate it. Shout out to everybody in the chat that's been rocking with us on Twitch, on YouTube, on Twitter, everybody listening on Dash Radio. Big shouts to everybody, too, that's just checking out this podcast. Again, we go live every Tuesday and Thursday. Project 2020. Another great one in the books, Blake Jamieson. And go follow him right now. Leave a comment on Blake's last post, and you can potentially win another card. We're not done with the giveaways. Big ups to all you guys. Blake, any last things you want to say?
Oh, man, that's it. I think, like, honestly, like, if people want to chat, I'm super active on Twitter as well. So Twitter, Blake Jamieson, any questions, I will autograph any of my own Topps Project 2020 cards for free.
Ooh, that's an offer.
I'm the only artist I think that's doing it for free. Just black ink, unnumbered. You just pay for postage.
Amazing.
It's all good. So, yeah, hit me up on Twitter. Let's chat.
That's it. Blake, thank you so much. Thank you for being so real and always reaching out to the people. And it's been incredible watching your journey and watching the documentation of your journey as well through this. Project 2020, big ups to Topps. Signing out from cardhouse.net. DJ Skee. We'll see you guys next week.
Stay awesome.
Yeah.